Aviators, welcome to Aeronerd Aviation Online Ground School for Private Pilot. First and foremost, I'm Ty Jones, your Aeronerd, and I want to thank you so much for choosing this out of all the other places you could have went to. You chose here, you choose this right here, and I just want to let you know ahead of time, you will not be disappointed. I'm going to be teaching you so many things that I wish my instructor would have taught me when I was in your position. I'm going to show you that I wish other instructors would still to this day teach other students. There's been so many times where I would be asking, it's like, hey, you know, what is this, this, and that, or what is the wing twist on a wing? I don't know. Like, you should kind of know that, you know, especially you're about to go to your check ride. What you ultimately don't want to happen is for your examiner to be asking you a question and you are going to be like, I don't really know. By the end of this training, you will be able to go into the check ride so confident you would dare ask the examiner to ask you something that you didn't know. I wish you would try to ask me something that I didn't know. And if I don't know it, well, guess what? I know where to find it. And that is the key from start to finish of this training. Don't try to memorize anything. Just let it come naturally, and it will come naturally. What I really want to focus on is to know where to find the information. So I will constantly say that over and over and over again throughout this training, and you have to understand the amount of information in flying an airplane is so vast. It is impossible to try to memorize every single. I don't even know every single thing, but people always ask me, well, how do you remember that? You know, how do you 61 109 or 91 205 or how do you remember that? I never really memorized it. It just came organically. It just came naturally. And so the same thing for you. You drive a car. How do you know what a stop sign means? How do you know what a yellow light means? How do you know what a dash line means? How do you know how do you know all of this stuff? That's a lot of information. It came naturally over time. So use that same concept when you're going over this stuff, because when you start looking at this material that you're going to be studying, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be going through all of this. So keep that in mind. Do not let that discourage you. There is a lot of information that we're going to be going over in this private pilot series. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the very first thing is, what kind of books do you need? What do you need to start your private pilot training, right? You're going to go to your instructor and he or she may say, oh, well, you need this, 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 you need that. You need to buy this goal, you need to buy this course, you need to buy this Goliath course, you need to get this, that, you need to go ahead and turn this on, you got to do this and everything. Whoa, way too much. I believe in don't pay for free material. Most of the stuff that you can use to study is all free. All you got to do is Google it. All you got to do is YouTube it, literally. There is some things, however, that would be recommended that you actually purchase. For example, this is the FAR AIM. This is literally the pilot's Bible. Now, all of the stuff that's in here, you can literally Google it. All of this stuff is right there. For example, 91 205 for A tomato flames. Well, how am I going to get, I got to buy this book. No, you can just go right online and you can Google 91 205 and it's right there. However, the reason why I think it's very important to actually buy the physical copy of this is because you can actually write in here, you can highlight stuff. So this is one of many books that I recommend that you get. In fact, I'll go ahead and show you mine right now of the suggested study list in the FAR AIM to tell you exactly what do I really study for private pilot. And this is just a sample of what I mean. So this is my old 2020 FAR AIM, but I just wanted to show you this one because I have something in here that I recommend that you do when you start studying the regulations. So in the beginning of the FAR AIM, make sure it's the ASA's version. You're going to see in the beginning suggested study list. Now, what this study list prevents you from doing is overreading, because when you do your private pilot, you're not going to need to read every single page and paragraph of all of this. That's crazy, right? Instead, go to your desired rating that you're going for. Here is private pilot. This is all of the paragraphs and pages and regulations that you're going to be studying. For example, you're going to need 61.3, 61.15, 61.23, and so on and so forth. This is what the FAA is going to be telling you to study. What I recommend is, when you do read and understand 61.3, write a small little description in there of what 61.3 means to you. And then you move on down, 61.15, 61.23. So by the end of by the time you're ready for your check ride, you should have little descriptions written down in every single one of these. Mine, for example, when I was doing my CFI, this is what it looked like when I was finished. Notice there's a description for every single one of these. And it also, I also use this as a bookmark. So when I stopped studying, like for example, here's commercial, when I stopped studying, you know, I went to bed or the next day or whatever, I knew exactly where I left off, and I can continue on where I left off at 91.3, and I can go on and keep on going in sequence. Another thing that it will help you do is prevent you from going, okay, now I got to study weather, now I got to study human factors, now I got to study aircraft systems, now I got to study. It's too much. You're going to be all over the place. What this suggested study list does, it keeps you in a nice, organized way of studying. That's what I recommend. That's what I've been doing, and it's been working for me great, and all my other students so far. So if you're going to be studying in a nice organized fashion, that's the best way that you can start from your FAR aim. Some other materials that I recommend that you actually purchase is the POH for your aircraft. Now, no matter what kind of checklist that you have, because you're going to have a checklist that you're going to be using for pre-flight and pre-departure briefs and all that good stuff, climb checklist, descent checklist, pre-maneuver checklist, all that good stuff. Your flight instructor or your flight institution may have a pre-checklist already done. And mine actually, where's mine at? Mine actually looks like this one. I have all my checklists to get up in the air. I have all my checklists to all the stuff that you do while you're in the air, and then all of your emergency procedures. POH is something I definitely recommend. Read this cover to cover so you know exactly what the aircraft's manufacturer is recommending. No matter if you're flying a Cessna, a Cirrus, make sure you read this, because the checklist that you're given from your instructor or flight institutions are literally abbreviated versions of what's written in here. So if you want to do a emergency checklist or whatever, let's say for example engine failure. Oh my God, what do I do? Oh, hold on, Mr. Examiner. I got to go to section 3 and I got to hold on. You see, that's why we have these nice checklists, so it's a very quick reference. But when you are reading these quick references, make sure that these line up with what is said on the POH, on the Pilot Operating Handbook. Don't ever go by what your instructor says, or for example, oh, I'm doing this because my instructor told me to. I'm doing this because I was told. I was told. No. Every single thing that your instructor is told, anything that I'm telling you to do or advising you to do, always ask where the written guidance is. For example, if you're speeding down the highway going, let's say 90 miles an hour, you get pulled over by a cop and you tell the cop, oh, well, sir, I was told that the speed limit was 90 miles an hour. The cop is not he's not gonna care what you were told. He's gonna tell you, well, the speed limit sign says 55. This is your speed limit sign. Don't ever go by what you're told. Always look for the written guidance. Speed limit sign. Speed limit sign. Another one, speed limit sign. This is the ACS. Inside the ACS, and this is another one that I'd recommend that you actually purchase and actually have a physical copy. This is what your examiner is going to be asking you about. Every single thing that you're doing in your training from start to finish, the reason why you're doing ground reference maneuvers, the reason why you're doing power on stalls, power off stalls, steep turns, short field landings, soft field landings, square patterns. Why am I doing all this? Why are you teaching? What is the point of all this? Well, this is because it's in the ACS. No matter what rating or what license you're going for, I would always recommend you have one of these in hand. Speaking of which, in the very beginning, you're going to have exactly all the items that, I know you can't really see it right here, but I'll get a close up here in other videos, but I will be going over this much more in depthly. So let's say, for example, let's say weather, for example. So we're going to go over weather information. Here's all the questions that your examiner and subjects about weather that he or she may ask you. And if you're unsure of if you're unsure of where to find this information, about clouds, what are all the different types of clouds? Well, it tells you right up here in the very top on references. It'll tell you advisor circulars, it'll give you the PHAC, it'll give you advisor circular 00-6, 00-45, and you can actually, again, Google those, and you can Google, AC 00-6 PDF. You can download it and then you can study it and read it for free. It's all for free. Don't pay for free material. However, there are some things that you should buy that you can have the physical copies. Again, ACS, POH, the FAR AIM. Another one that you can probably get to as a chart supplement, even though you can get all this information on SkyVector and ForeFlight. I mean, everybody's using the electronic, this is the electronic age now, right? So you can get that stuff. However, it's still good to have this a physical copy so you can actually use this for reference when you're trying to find things like on the legend or whatnot. There's a legend in the very front that you can actually use, and again, I'll actually use this in another video, and we'll actually go through this. So perhaps I need a new chart supplement. Now this one is kind of old anyway. All right, so that is literally the books that you can actually use and for your private pilot training. So that's pretty much it for the reference materials. As we go more further in depth into the training, you're also going to hear me refer to, for example, the Airplane Flying Handbook, the PHAC, which is the Pilot Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. You're going to be hearing that a lot. So the Airplane Flying Handbook is literally the book where it explains the why when you're doing power on, power off stalls, when you're doing medium banks, steep turns, or when you're doing emergency procedures, what's the steps and how to do power on, power off stalls and the why. You're going to find that information in the Airplane Flying Handbook. Now, when it comes to, how does the instruments work? How does my airspeed indicator work? How does the altimeter work? What's inside? What's it made out of? I wish I can see something where I can actually, where you can break it down and see inside and see, oh, that's how it works. That is the PHAC. That is the Pilot Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. The aerodynamics, how does the aerodynamics work? Weather, the very basics of weather. That's also going to be in the PHAC. Now, what do you actually need physically to fly? For example, what do I need? Like when I jump in the airplane, what do I need? And what am I going to be using throughout my training? Well, in the flight school institution, they may give you some headsets. If you're going to be flying for a while, I'd recommend you invest in your own headsets. This is probably going to be the most expensivest thing, expensivest, is that a word? The most expensive thing you will probably buy in your aviation career, and that is a thing of headsets. Why? Because you want some really good quality headsets when you are flying in the airplane. If you end up getting like the lower cost ones, you're probably going to be ending up spending more money than you probably would if you would have just bought some nice decent headsets. For example, if you bought some $300 ones, they may last, and then you find somebody else who's like, oh wow, noise canceling, ooh, okay, cool, I'm gonna buy those. Now you done spent more money. However, if you just spent the $800 or $900 or whatever the case may be, then those are going to be lasting for years. Here's I have some Bose A20s. Now, yes, at the time these were $1,200, but I don't think I'll ever buy another headset ever again. I had these for years. I've dropped them. I've slammed them on the ground. I mean, I replaced so many batteries on this thing. These ear cups they do kind of fray a little bit, but you can just go on Amazon and buy another headset. I think they come in like 2 pairs for like $10, right? So these are amazing headsets. So get some really nice quality headsets for your training and for your flying. Also, if you would like a review on these A20 headsets, if you go to my YouTube channel, Aeronerd, just look up Bose A20. I actually have a 5-year review. I had to review these after 5 years of owning these, and I'm still using them, and I love these things. They're still working like they were brand new. So the only thing I had to replace, like I said, is the ear cups, but they're $10 on Amazon. No big deal. So yeah, headsets. Next thing, foggles. You will be needing some of these. So go ahead and go to the Pilot store. You can go to, I don't know, just Google Amazon, Sporties or anything like that. I think Sporties you do have to pay for shipping, and there's some other stores out there too that you don't really have to pay for shipping. I'm not sure which ones they are. So anyway, just do your research. But you will need a set of foggles, so make sure you get some foggles. Another thing you can probably get to in the meantime is if you're going to plan on using the ForeFlight, I recommend getting yourself an iPad. Maybe not the huge ones. I mean, you don't need to. This fits really nice on my knee, like for when I'm having a knee board. That's another thing, get a knee board too. But I mean, if you have something like this, I mean, why does even iPads even come this big? I mean, geez, you gotta like. No, you don't need something that big, right? So get something that's really small that can actually fit on your knee, and this is what you can use on your ForeFlight. And actually, if you do get a ForeFlight, get like get something to pair it with. Like for example, a what's the one I have? I have the Century. Get one of these too. And again, I also have a review on this too on my YouTube channel. So go ahead and check that out if you want to learn a little bit more information about this. And of course, you want to be able to track all of your pilot training, so make sure you get a pilot logbook. Now, there's all kinds of different types and flavors of logbooks. Just Google pilot logbook and just get the first one. I think I have like the senior logbook from Sporters or something like that. It has everything you need. I think it has like it's like 1,000 something pages in there or something like that. But that's another thing that you also want to get to a logbook. So make sure you have that. And I believe that is going to be everything that you're going to be needing. So you have your reference materials. Make sure before you buy anything, look online. Do your research first. You can save the most money by doing your research on the ground first before stepping foot in the plane. Speaking of which, chair flying is so important. If you go to Sporties, they actually have a poster of a 172. If your training is going to be in a 172, I highly recommend you take advantage of this because they have a poster of the 172 cockpit for free. This is the poster that they have for free that they're offering. So this is really good so you can navigate through the cockpit. So when you step foot in there, you're not learning from scratch every single time. It's like, okay, so the checklist is I got to make sure the mixture is rich. Where is the mixture? Oh, it's right there. So next time you get in there, you already have knowledge of where everything is, so you'll be able to navigate through the cockpit that much easier and faster if you have one of these, and it's free. All right, so just to review what we just went over, I went ahead and put it all on the board here. So number one, you definitely want to make sure you have a really good quality headset, right? Next, the fuel tester. This is something I didn't really talk about. I'm going to actually go into this in the very next video. When we actually pre-flight the aircraft, what we want to do is we want to test our fuel in our airplane to make sure there's no water in it, and we'll explain that in another video. But that's what this fuel tester is here for. And then a logbook. We just explain, have a logbook so you can actually keep track of all your training, because you're going to need that when you come for the check ride. View limiting device. This is the foggles that I was talking about. These are these right here. POH, make sure you have your POH, your pilot operating handbook for the airplane that you're going to be flying in. Of course, your FAR aim. The FAR aim, this is the book I was referring to. Remember, I would get the ASA's version. So what you can do is you can take advantage of that suggested study list, so it prevents you from over studying and over reading stuff that you don't really need to be reading for your rating. Another thing is the ACS. This is your ACS. Make sure you have your ACS, so Airman Certification Standards. This is the book this is what your examiner is going to be asking you about, and this is going to be why you're doing power on, power off stalls, because you're going to be tested on it. How do you know? It's in the ACS. Sectional chart. Now, you can get a sectional chart. Even though it's all on SkyVector, you can get SkyVector for free. A sectional chart, I would recommend getting somebody's old one because the sectional charts only last but so long before they expire, then you got to get a new one. That's why most of everyone's moving on to ForeFlight or Garmin or SkyVector, and they're using that. So what we will be using a sectional chart though when we start getting into cross-country flight planning. We will be doing it the old-fashioned way. So we will actually be using a sectional chart. So for this online series, I recommend you go ahead and get one, but see if you can get a used one so you're not paying for one because it's going to expire in a few months anyway, because that's what they're good for. Chart supplement, that's this green book that I was just showing. And if I can find it, this right here. So this is your chart supplement right here. E6B, this is a, you can actually get an electronic one, or you can get the old metal one. And again, we'll be going back to this when we start getting into our flight planning. Same with plotter. Don't worry about these two at the moment. This part right here, we can kind of hold off for a little bit until we get into maybe the mid part of the online course. Now if you go over here, these are kind of like the optional things that you can have. Again, PHAC, it is really beneficial if you actually have the physical copy so you can actually take notes if you need to. But if not, you can go ahead and get all this material online. Next, Airplane Flying Handbook. Again, this really explains everything of why you're doing the maneuvers of each maneuver. Power on stalls, steep turns, all that good stuff. Knee board, have a really good knee board. For your notepads, if you're going to be writing stuff down, it'd be really good to have a knee board. Flashlight, you are going to be doing some night flying. So how are we going to inspect and do a pre-flight in the airplane if we don't have a flashlight? The iPhone flashlight or your cell phone flashlight is, it's just get a flashlight. Just get a flashlight. Checklist. This may be given to you already by your flight instructor or flight school institution. And probably the most important is water. Even if it's cold up there, always have some water with you. You never know if you're going to be getting a little bit dehydrated up there. So these are the items that I recommend you have when you first starting out your private pilot training. Alright, so that is it for this first session of the online ground school for private pilot. The next video is we're going to be going over to the airplane and we're going to be doing an in-depth review of all of the antennas and all the nomenclature, all the lights, and we're going to be doing a full pre-flight inspection of a Cessna 172. So that's going to be our next video. Again, before I go, I just again wanted to send my thank you for choosing Aeronerd Aviation to be your online ground course. All right, I'll see you in the next video.